There are a few things going on in recent time that it is important to understand. There are a few things going on in recent time that it is important to understand. It is important to understand where we are. For instance, this morning we woke up to the news of the attempted coup in Benin. Well, if you think military coup is no longer fashionable in the world, we've seen that happening in Africa. For some of us that lived through the military era in Nigeria, we don't want to see that happening again. And that is why every day when we wake up, we try as much as possible to look at what our government is doing and asking that question, is this democracy serving us well or not? Is this kind of what we anticipated for when we started struggling for democracy, for democratic rule in Nigeria? Is that what our vision? Is that the vision of our founding father, those who actually sacrificed for us to have democracy in Africa? Kwame Nkrumah, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Jomo Kenyatta, Bembembela, Obafemi Awolowo, Sekou Toure. Is this their vision? Maybe, probably no. And we all know that they want a place to call our home. They want Africa that will be respected globally. So at the time Ghana gained independence in 1957, as at the time Nigeria gained independence in 1960, you can look at our peers, you can look at those who gained independence along the same time in Asia, and look at where they are today, and just think of where we find ourselves today. It's worrisome. And that's why some of us care. And that's why we keep asking questions all the time. Is that kind of what we want to see? Now we have military junta in Mali, in Burkina Faso, failed coup attempt in Guinea-Bissau, failed coup in Benin Republic, in Niger, military junta. We need to make our democracy work, because that's the only best of government, which of course we see so far. We have to make our government work so that people will not be yearning, so that people will not be so that people will not be asking for military to take over again. Anyway, that's not the main topic that I want to talk about today. But it's important to briefly touch on that. I want to welcome all of you to today's security briefing, and that's proudly brought to you by Ogun Security Research and Strategic Consulting, LLC. We help organizations navigate complex risks with clarity and also precision. If you are committed to national safety or public protection, this is the right place for you. And before we begin, please take a moment to like this video. I want you to share it with your network and also subscribe to stay updated on our weekly briefing. Again, I'm your host. My name is Ogunlana. And we're going to dive deep into Nigeria's most overlooked national concern. We will explore unusual disappearance, suspicious post-incident patterns, and the possibility of a shadow economy exploiting our weakened security system. And I want to tell all of you, do not worry. As always, I will keep everything professional, but spring in just enough humor to keep you awake. Let's get started. If you have not taken your coffee already, get your popcorn and get a cup of coffee. Nigeria deal with a wide range of security issues. We've been talking about so many incidents, which of course we expect our government to have been able to deal with over times. Those security issues, we see it every single day. And I can tell you, if threat were radio, talking about radio station, our dial will be permanently full at this point in time. And yet, among these threats, there's one that really receive a kind of structured discussion. If you turn on your radio every day, people vanish without explanation. And after some violent incident, responder observe conditions that raise professional red flags. And this conversation is overdue. And that is why I take it upon myself. And at OSRS, we are committed to bringing clarity where silence has lingered for so long time. From the northern region that faces extremist pressure to central state experiencing mobility kind of based attacks. The reality is that Nigerian security pictures is complex, and that complexity hides a concern that receive a kind of very little institutional attention. And that's what I want to highlight today. How many of you read about this lady that worked for FRSC? Our friend, whether they are in a romantic relationship or not, that's not the issue here. Our friend lured her into nearby bush where she was slaughtered like ram, an entire body dismembered. They did the same thing for our daughter. The reality is that criminal group thrive when the environment is chaotic. And that is why this pattern must be analyzed through a national security lens. We should not just be looking at it as ritual killing the way they always cross. I mean, when people disappear, all they say is ritual killing. Must have been killed somewhere. We have to look at it beyond that. Across Nigeria, we've seen that disturbing reality that persists every day. Someone leaves home for work or travel, and no one ever hears from that person again. If not for the fact that they abandon the lady's car and they make everything look as if it's a kind of kidnapping scene. Probably we're still going to be looking for clue about how the lady disappeared today. And every day, people leave home, no communication, no ransom message, no lead. And what I've seen so far is that we lack a national biometric registry for missing persons. And without it, silence becomes perfect hiding place for wrongdoing. In several conflict affected areas, talk about those towns, those villages where people get attacked. Local responders report discovering victims with very specific internal area missing. Why is that happening? Why is it that their body got mutilated and they're missing? And this pattern do not align with chaotic violence. They suggest deliberate action. And why I will continue using a language, a kind of safe language. I need to be honest with you. The seriousness is clear. These recurring findings deserve national attention and professional investigation to establish if there's a kind of dark kind of market where people get killed and somebody do something with their organs, whether in exchange for money. Let me ease this tension before someone watching me start double checking every windows in their house. I want everyone to relax. My job is to provide analysis, not elevate your heart rate. I don't want you to be afraid. And please resist that temptation to run to your WhatsApp group with half summaries. Instead, send them this video and tell them to watch it calmly. When you have facts, it works better than panic. One of the clear red flags came from the whistleblower, Nnamdi Ime. He revealed information suggesting serious misconduct by individual inside security establishment. And his concern included unusual handling of victims' questionable post-incident activities. And after speaking out, he was detained, later imprisoned, and civil society have to come together because they fear for the life and safety of this whistleblower. They don't want him to be permanently silenced. And this case underscores the urgency of this conversation. How many of you remember the case of the former Senate President, Ekweremandu? Deputy Senate President, sorry. That case was solved in the United Kingdom, and that demonstrated that there's a global demand for internal biological elements. Why Deputy Senate President Ekweremandu case is quite different? The case did not happen in Nigeria, but that exposed the existence of market that operate without borders. And if that demand a kind of gain international attention, we must ask ourselves whether local criminal networks have identified this opportunity. Well, don't misquote me. I'm just asking. And we want our law enforcement to ask that question. Why are people disappearing without traces? Why I see that when they find them, their body got mutilated and some of their biological organs disappeared. Who are behind that? Before we move on, let me remind every one of you that Ogun Security Research and Strategic Consulting provide intelligence analysis, security assessment, and national risk advisory services. If your organization needs clarity in complex security environment, come on, reach out to us. And while you are here, please like this video, share it widely, and subscribe for future briefing. Let's move on. Criminal enterprise prefer environment filled with confusion and weak systems. They rely on the fact that unusual post-incident conditions will be dismissed casually on label with overly simplistic explanation like ritual killing. And that's why Nigeria must assume that every suspicious case fit a cultural pattern. Some of these incidents look structured and financially motivated, and that needs to be investigated. From the days of Otokoto, we have still not been able to ask questions why people are motivated in killing people and mutilate their bodies. Bad actor thrive on silence. When you keep silence, the bad actor will thrive. They succeed when institutions avoid asking difficult questions. They expand when there are no centralized centralized registry, no forensic requirement, and no unified investigation framework. If a criminal network could design its ideal operating environment, it will look exactly like a system where victims are not tracked and responders are always overwhelmed and cases are closed without proper analysis. So what do we need to do? What should our security agency investigate? First, it's important for us. We need investigation that asks right questions. Are these disappearances connected to coordinated groups? Are internal elements being moved through a system trafficking route? Do insurgent groups see this as an additional revenue stream? Are professional or insider enabling certain activities? These are legitimate intelligence questions and must be addressed. I would recommend this, and I will keep laying emphasis on that from time to time, that we need a unified missing persons registry. We still don't have one in Nigeria. We must have a national task force that is dedicated to suspicious disappearances and post-incident anomalies. And don't ask me again, we need a mandatory forensic examination for all unusual cases, a transparent review of the whistleblower situation involving case of Nnamdi Ime, and we need a closer cooperation between police, DSS, NATIV, military intelligence, and F sector. Let me close by saying this. This issue affects dignity, human rights, and national safety. And for us, and for Nigeria government, we cannot continue to ignore repeated patterns simply because they are uncomfortable to discuss. Yes, uncomfortable to discuss, but we cannot ignore it. I want to thank every one of you that are paying attention to this. Thank you for watching this security briefing. Again, let me remind you, please like, share, and subscribe to more so that more people can actually access this information. And remember, this episode again for this week is being sponsored by Ogun Security Research and Strategic Consulting, your trusted partner in intelligence analysis, national risk strategy, and public safety research. Again, I am Oludare Ogunlana, and together we can build a safer nation together. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.